Hello and welcome. I thought I'd do something a little bit different today because recently I've been watching Micro Live from back in, well, I think this series started in 1984. I was too young to watch it back then. I was only about 10, 11. But as it went on through the years, I caught a couple of episodes here and there, so I knew what it was about. But like I said, recently I've just been watching it and really been amazed at some of the things they got right and shocked at some of the things they got wrong. So yeah, let's watch it and let's have a bit of a giggle and a laugh maybe.
Hello, you're watching Micro Live. In today's programme we follow judo and superstars champion Brian Jacks and his family as they comb the shops of beautiful downtown Croydon.
He was massive back in the day.
Home micro.
Oh, he's looking for a home micro.
I'll be trying out the new Micro Live bulletin board. Now, if you've got a modem and you care to, you can send us messages live through the show and we'll read some out at the end. Well, that's the plan anyway. I'll be talking to John Coll about choosing a printer for your micro, and John is also going to be attempting to contact some exotic and far-flung places using only his extremely trusty modem.
And I'll be showing you how computers can print.
Ah, so they've got a roving reporter. Didn't Bad Influence have a roving reporter as well? Yeah, they did, didn't they?
Welcome to our new monthly series, the only live computer programme on television. Micro Live will be each month at 6 o'clock on a Friday with news and features on micros.
There you go.
Large
Sit down for your
computers,
Friday
software,
evening entertainment.
And of course
Back
some
in
of
the
the
80s.
interesting people who use them. Well, this is the week in which the charity Oxfam...
Stop! Hold it! Hold everything!
Oh, what's this?
35p.
So I'm just sat here with my cup of coffee, enjoying this.
Well, as we're
pay you
sharing,
later?
well, I think so. As we're sharing the same birthday.
Micromart, what's it meant to do?
Well, it's
I
meant
don't
to
know what
sell
this bit's
new
about.
and used computers and computer.
They did try and be funny
So it's the
sometimes, Micro
magazine of
Live,
the
in
General
their
Computer.
stiff upper lip
not
sort
sure.
of,
Oh, really?
not
Any
stiff
good
upper lip,
bargain
they're sort of
today?
stiff
Have a look
sort
through,
of
there's
BBC
plenty.
style.
Really? IBM
Often
PC and
failed.
printer. Unused, unwanted gift, quick sale.
Wonderful. Do you want
Your
it?
phone mic.
Well, I should do that now if I were
He's
you.
chiefing us. He's got some good friends, hasn't he?
Certainly.
Well, thank you.
Thank you.
Well, back to Oxfam, which is making its final appeal for a second-hand, lightly used software to be brought into their shops for 3 grand sales to be held in London on the 20th of October. The idea of selling second-hand software raises some interesting
Selling
questions
second-hand
about
software.
who's responsible if it goes wrong.
Loads of companies have made a living on that. Look at Game and CEX.
seem quite happy to have their micro software sold
the
second-hand
norm,
to
isn't
charity.
it, these days?
And some had already donated new software for the appeal. In fact, this morning, Ocean Software sent us 100 copies of
How could they not
Daley
sell them?
Thompson's Decathlon, currently the #1 in the games charts, for us to forward to Oxfam. Well, this is also the week in which Sir Michael Edwards left after 6 months as chairman of ICL, Britain's largest computer company.
Yeah, ICL.
With a payoff
They
rumoured to be
were
not too
Britain's
far
biggest
from
computer company.
£500,000 after the
What
company was
happened
sold
to
to
them?
STC. So there's still fortunes to be made quickly in computers. Well done, Sir Michael. And we just heard the news that British Telecom is raising
Nothing
their prices
changes.
by 2% and minimum
Nothing
phone box
changes.
charge
They're
to
still doing it
10p
today.
from next month to boost their £1 billion profit.
Yeah, well done,
So
British
there's money in the
Telecom.
phone business too. Well done, British Telecom. But we've had lots and lots of letters here, some using old technology. They come in envelopes and are delivered by hand, and some by electronic mail, with all sorts of comments and suggestions. On this series, we're giving you an opportunity to write to us while we're on the air through a bulletin board.
Oh,
a bulletin board
the good
is
old
more or less
BBS.
Exactly what it says. It's a way
Now,
of
this
you
is
being able
something
to
that
send
really did have a
messages
use.
to this computer and also be able to read messages that are stored
I
in the
remember some of
computer
my,
itself. It's a Tandy TRS 180.
more
and it's
interesting
connected
friends
into the
using,
telephone network by
BBS
this
back in
Dacom
the day.
300 baud modem. And it's using TBBS software, which stands for...
You know, just to get
breadboard
backups of
software.
their
We've had a bit of
favourite
trouble with it one
software
way or another today.
that they'd
but
already
we've
bought.
been rehearsing it all day.
You know,
Haven't
as
we,
you do.
Lesley?
We have, and I'm now about to rehearse it in public.
Oh, look at that
Just
modem.
dialing in.
Oh, but what they call them,
I'm
acoustic
not sure whether we
couplers.
can afford this call with that news from British Telecom,
Ah.
actually.
Full of
Ringing.
nostalgic goodness.
Anybody there? Yeah, I got a high-pitched whine, so that means that
That's just your voice,
call has
Lesley.
been accepted. Place the receiver in the modem. I've got a green light. Press return. Look at that. Welcome to Micro Live. First
Yeah.
name. Right. Lesley. L-E-S.
Lesley.
Lesley, last
Over
name.
here, you're terrible at spelling.
Never mind, we are fully operational.
It was working. Well done, Lesley.
Yeah, well
The
done.
problem with this bulletin board is that only one person can be connected to it.
Lesley
at
Judd
one time,
is
just
nice,
like your
though. I
old
think she's
telephone.
yeah.
So if you do dial in and
yeah.
get an engaged tone, please ring off and try again later. The number for the
So if your
duration of
BBS
the
is
programme
engaged, ring
only
again.
is
Imagine that today, you'd be
01
constantly engaged.
2468.
Obviously, only one line can get through at a
Lucky.
time.
The first 10 people to leave message on the system will get this amazing Microlive T-shirt. Holy,
Well,
and absolutely valuable.
I would,
washes
yeah, I would do a lot for one of
Really?
those
Well,
these
it
days.
certainly
That
won't fit
looks,
me.
that does look cool.
Well, each month we'll be having a film story from our American reporter, Freff. He seems to get all the best.
Freff.
For this first programme, he's been
It
to
would, don't it?
Hollywood.
Come on, Freff. Universal
One
Studios.
of the
Never
most
been there.
popular
Would
tourist
love to go
attractions in
there.
Hollywood is the Universal Studios Tour, a chance to see behind the scenes of a major feature film studio. And when you tire of that, there's always
Conan the live show. That sounds amazing.
seven times a day and 7 days a week. The Conan the
Se-
Barbarian show recreates
7
movies,
days?
special
Sorry,
effects
7
live
times a day?
on stage.
Yeah, that must be hard work. When these things are physical. Bendy sword.
The effects are spectacular and often dangerous, from laser beams to explosions, and including an 18-foot-tall computer-controlled dragon called Ashley, who appears at the climax of the show.
With Conan and Red Sonja. I'll take it.
Freff is semi-civilized here, and I think it's safe. Or at least so Peter Alexander, the show's
Now,
producer, assures
as well
us.
as
Isn't that right, Peter?
old computers and
Now, how
retro
long did it
tech
take you
and
to
stuff,
put all these different
I really
technologies
do
together to
enjoy
make the show happen?
movies,
9 months
and
to
especially how
design
movies are
and
made.
build
So
the attraction.
I am actually interested in watching this
What
bit.
controls it all? What keeps it functioning?
I love seeing behind the
Well, there's two
scenes.
things really.
In fact, I
One
probably watch behind
is
the
a
scenes
human being,
DVDs
that is,
more than I do
there's
the
a
films.
technical director who watches what goes on the stage, but he interfaces with a series of computers that operate off a number of switches and electric eyes that make sure that the actors are safe, and so that it's possible to do all these special effects live.
The basic program material is contained on the VCR down here, which also has a SMPTE time code lapsed right with it in proper time sequence. It's then read by the SMPTE time code reader.
So the server,
Which then sends
or
the
whatever
signal
it is,
to
the
basic
server reads the
main
time code on the
computer. It
VCR.
has
That controls
bubble memories
the
and such.
timing of all
It tells
those
it what
pyrotechnics.
at a particular frame count.
Okay.
It knows what bits to turn on and off, etc. The data from this computer is sent down to this other computer that can make logical decisions based on the technical director pushing a button, the actors in the proper position on their mats, etc. We also have 5 separate individual computers up here with 4 megabytes of
4
bubble memory
megabytes.
that contain the digital
Bubble
sound
memory,
effects
4
for
megabytes.
laser blast, explosions.
Oh, so that
such as
keeps all the audio.
that have to be synced exactly with a laser beam. You can't access a magnetic tape fast
Oh,
enough
okay.
to sync it
Makes
properly.
sense. I mean, 4 meg back in 1984 would have been a
How
hell
many
of a
different
lot.
switches are there on this stage?
There's probably about 30 switches on the stage that the actors have to either pass through or step on or do something with.
Okay, now, I know there's an effect behind us you wanted to show me. Is there a switch involved in that, too?
Yes, that's a cone laser, and that's where Taurus Mordor appears. And what happens there, he's basically sitting down on a little bench seat, and he's sitting down on a pad that tells the
Is the
computer
Conan
that he's
live
there.
show still going
he has
today?
to face away from the laser light,
bet
because
it's
of course
not.
the lasers would be dangerous to your eyes.
No, these studios work, I bet it's not. But, I may be wrong.
Now, what's going to happen here?
This
This
the
is
moment
not
in the
really
show
for kids,
where
is it?
Taurus Mordor turns Callias,
I
who's
don't
the big
reckon my
wizard,
my
to
kids,
stone.
when they were younger, would
What he
enjoy that. I
does
don't think they enjoy it now,
comes out
really.
and he
Scare them.
Comes to center stage, right where we're standing, and he steps on this button right here, and that tells the technical director that he's in the right place and he's not going to get hit by the laser beam. Meanwhile, Callias gets on a turntable and he hits a button that says, "I'm safe." Then Taurus Mordor will take this staff.
So
here,
literally you do
and
have
he's
to be
going
on
break
your mark.
an invisible beam. It's an electric eye that's fired off of one of the braziers right over there, and he'll put the staff up and break the beam. The laser beam will fire, and the pyrotechnics will go off, and Callias will have been turned into stone. this is the
That
effect
is so cool.
where Redsonia blocks Taurus Mordor's laser staff. What she'll do is she will take her sword and bring it down and hit this pedestal, and that will activate an electric eye, which is right back there in this little chair here, and that fires a laser from a brazier down there where Taurus Mordor is standing. At the same time as the laser beam will hit the sword, she will press this button here, which will fire a pyro, and it'll look like, you know, the laser light is exploding off the sword. And then she goes back and she does the same
You
thing
get
on the other
close
side.
up to it. It's just wood with screws in it and a pyrotechnic inside.
I'll see you in hell first.
Dear me.
And then finally, in the big finale, Ashley pulls out his number one weapon, which is fire. Fire comes from his mouth. But
Does it?
this is the one effect that isn't controlled
Right.
by a button in the floor. The actor who plays Conan just has to know exactly when the fire is coming and exactly how far it's going to go. And fortunately, it always comes at exactly the right time and fires, you know, exactly the right length. Otherwise, he'd be cooked. He's got a fireproof shield that he holds up, and he basically is on his own when he's doing that.
Oh wow, that's yeah, that's that could get ugly. There you go, in that slot there. There you go, you can see it. Yeah, I'd definitely go and see this. Yeah, I know I'm joking, but I would definitely go and see this. Back to the studio.
One of the most useful extras that you can buy for your micro is a printer. But if you're thinking of getting one, have a listen to what John Cole's got to say on the subject first, because I
Nope,
found
they brought
that
an
there is a
expert in.
bewildering choice, John, and I wouldn't know where to start to break it down.
Yes, it is bewildering. There are two main divisions, that is dot matrix printers and daisy wheel printers. And we'll have a look at some dot matrix ones first. This one over here is a little tiny dot matrix printer, £99,
tiny those were.
but its disadvantage is that it uses special paper.
I'd call it blue paper, actually. It's not very pretty,
Very
is it?
similar, not perforated, but about the right size. It is special in that it's thermal paper, and you have to actually heat it up to make it turn black. Now, all dot matrix printers
It's pretty
work on the
standard
same sort of
today
principle.
in the
There's
shops, isn't it? If you get a
caption which shows how
receipt.
that works. If
Oh,
we
so
see the
it's a
caption,
thermal
you see that
printer.
there are a row of 7 pins vertically. And on the
7
heat
pins?
sensitive one, those heat up. And where they land,
thought there
they
were
make
9
the
pins
paper
by
turn
default.
black. So you form the characters in that way, a matrix of dots.
Right, now, do all dot matrix printers have to use this special paper, as you call it?
No, they don't, and that's a disadvantage of that one. This one over here, the Brother printer, uses ordinary paper. You see how good it is? Let's try like that instead.
Oh, that's a noise you just don't hear anymore.
That's just using ordinary paper, this time hitting the paper through a ribbon.
Right, well, that's much more pleasing, being ordinary paper, isn't it?
It
Can
is.
we have a look at a close-up of the print that does?
Yes,
It looks
and
like...
if you look carefully, I think you'll see...
Oh, there we are. Oh. There looks like there's something actually wrong with that, because we've got wonky G's
We've
there.
got wonky G's.
All right, well, you insist
Everybody.
on using this phrase, wonky G's. I must educate you. They're not wonky G's. There are no descenders on the G's. The letters like G and J and Y, which ought to go below the line, don't manage it. Because there are
Hence why I
7
thought we had 9
pins.
pins.
And if you want to print things below the line as well, you need 9 pins.
Can you get the extra 2 pins?
there we go.
And can you buy them as an attachment?
Well, so do it yourself.
This is a serious question.
No, afraid not.
No, so that's
No,
a
Lesley, you
characteristic
can't.
that you are lumbered with.
Absolutely.
With that. Mind, it looks like a typewriter. Can you work it as a
You
typewriter?
can pull the interface out here and then just use it as an ordinary typewriter.
Right. Now, but will these 2 dot matrix printers fit up to any computer?
I think
No,
people
they
forget
won't.
that back in the day,
This
where there
BBC
were
computer
hundreds of different
has
types of
got interfaces
micros.
for both that one and that one, the serial interface.
there were
and
also
parallel.
hundreds of
In
different
fact,
types
some
of printers.
computers
I mean, now
haven't
you've got the
any
big
interface at
names and
all.
a few others as
And
well, but there
probably
were
the
so
most
many
important
different
thing if you're
printers,
to buy a printer, I
obscure
would say, is to go
printers
into the
back in the
shop
day.
with your computer and physically see it working. It's terribly
Yeah,
important.
let's haul this
Then
computer
grab one
down to
with a
the
wire that
shop.
The sales guy
That's a
is
good idea.
using, and take that piece of wire out of the shop. Don't get fobbed off and told, oh, any old bit of wire will do, because there are an awful lot of
You
differences.
see, I'd have thought the cable was the least of your worries.
I know, too many people do, but in fact, at £25 a shot, that
Expensive
sort of area,
mistake.
you
Actually,
can't-
talking about
yes.
price, we mentioned this one was £99. What
Right,
was this one?
165.
Right, so they're cheap and cheerful comparatively.
Yes.
But
Get
on the
yourself
other
printing
hand,
for cheap enough.
I don't know, the print looks computerish. It would never pass as a typewritten letter, would it?
So let's have a look at the daisy wheel output, which helps to solve that. Now, here's a daisy wheel. Camera 1 can come right in and have a look
daisy
at
wheel
that.
looks
This
so
daisy
good
wheel
compared
is
to the
a
old
plastic disc with a lot of petals on it, and on the end of each petal are embossed letters A to Z. And a hammer comes
bad
forward,
noise of the
pushes
way,
the
though.
petal
Proper
forward,
noise
gets
there.
to ribbon, it lands on the paper and makes a mark.
And actually, it makes quite a nice mark, doesn't it?
It does, very nice indeed. If we have a look at this one here, push that button, right, you can get that on camera. See that the
listen to that,
letters are formed
word.
beautifully.
Yeah, very nice and very clear. And that's the same lettering on both of those machines. I was
It
helping
is.
you along there, you see. Sorry about that.
That's all right.
So you got the same lettering, but is that the only lettering that you can get out of this daisy wheel printer?
No, if you want, you can change.
I mean, that is annoying. You would
Pull
hit
that
back
one
in the
out, put a new
office
one
in the
That's
80s.
not a screwdriver job, that's just...
No, you take the lid off, circle around
Daisy wheel
inside,
printers
but
firing
you
away.
don't change daisy wheels in the middle of a sentence. You can change it in documents.
So you can change style.
Bit of a nuisance.
Yeah. And what about underlining, things like that? Can you do that?
Yes, you
please?
can underline if you send the right commands to the machine. And to send the commands, you need things called printer drivers. That's a bit of software which fits in the computer and sends the right codes to the printer.
Are all computers and printers well catered for with printer drivers?
No, that's another major problem, and that is that if you go for an obscure printer, you probably won't find a driver.
This is what I was saying.
But if you go for the Olivetti's or
There were so many
Epsons
different
or
prints
something
on the
like
market,
that, well-known printers,
and not,
then
you
you'll be
know,
able to get printer drivers for them.
So you've got to...
I mean, these days it is just what Epson, Hewlett
something like that,
Packard,
Mac. Not exactly.
I was about to say you've got to stick to the main road.
you
we're
go
mixing
to
our metaphors
Argos. You don't have to go
slightly
to
here.
the
Never mind.
computer shop
But
in
hang on,
Argos,
what I
pick a
wanted
printer
to
up
ask
and,
is
you know,
price on
the
these
cheapest
two
chips.
daisy wheels.
In fact, the ink is more
$3.80
expensive than the
and
printers sometimes,
$9.25.
And what do you get for
which
the
I've learnt
difference?
to my
Twice the
horror.
speed.
So you really need to know what you want your printer to do. Because if
An
you
awful
don't
lot of
need the
money.
speed, it's £400 down the drain.
Right.
On the other hand, if you want the good lettering, it seems to me you're better off with a daisy wheel, yes?
Ah, well, yes, it's not, unfortunately, as simple as that. It used to be, a year ago, daisy wheels were the marvellous thing and dot matrix pretty grotty. But if you have a look at this one, this is a dot matrix printer.
Yeah, dot
and I
matrix
don't
did
know if you can
catch
see
up
on camera,
in the
but
end.
there is some very, very high quality print out there. Probably not close enough.
No,
but
that
it's
is
almost
superb.
letter quality. Right.
Yeah, and lovely, lots of variety, a different print as well, and underlining.
That's something else you also use,
So
is
you've
all
got
that
all sorts of
Z-fold
bells and whistles
paper,
for only £500.
the
Best
perforations.
of both worlds.
Very attractive indeed.
Yeah, still
Yes.
£500 though, it's a
Right.
good price.
That's an Epson.
Yeah.
I remember
printers.
in my first job, I
Here
left
is another
the
Epson
printer
at
going
about
overnight.
£300, and
Printing off
it's
some,
a smaller
um,
version of the other one, it's the RX80. Beautiful printer.
I don't know,
You can
I think I
not only
printed
do high
leaflets off or
quality
something, and it was
text,
all on
but you can
Z-fold
also
paper.
do screen dumps. And you can
And I came back the next day,
Sorry?
and the paper
Screen dumps.
had
Come on, I tell you all
overnight
about
had
this. It
gone
means
right
taking a
around
picture
and
off the
fed
screen,
back into itself
dropping it onto
and
the
jammed
printer.
itself on its own
Every
paper.
Facet right.
And
That
it
was
strips
picture
all the
with
gears
text
and the
on it.
cogs
Yeah, so it
from
comes out
the
exactly
printer.
right. To do
I
that,
was
you
I
have
was
to
not
have a
popular
bit of
that day.
software, a printer driver.
It was
like
a
this
Hewlett
one,
Packard
Printmaster,
printer. It was very
which
expensive. It was one of the
enables you to
early
run the BBC
inkjet
micro
printers.
out to the
And
Epson.
And
yeah,
the Epson is well catered for with software.
yeah, I
so
was
you'll
not
be
popular at all that
safe
day.
with that.
Yes, really good.
Right.
Damn Z-fold
And
paper.
also, presumably, because of the system, you'd better steer clear of daisy wheel printers if you do want pictures and graphics as your main requirement.
Got to. You can only really do graphics. Well, you can't do graphics on a daisy. We'll put it that way.
How about this? We've got a Canon here, which is churning
Right.
out colour. Is that more expensive?
£500 if you want colour.
Yeah.
Some people do.
Some people don't. You have to make up your mind,
Some
really.
people
don't
do.
What I really want.
Comes as a standard
you?
now,
I knew you'd
Gemma,
leave the
doesn't
best
it?
till last. What is it?
Look at this thing. Just look at this. This is a laser printer, and this one's going to leave the studio with me. Right, laser printer, beautiful,
No.
£3,000, and I'm taking it.
And wonderfully quiet.
I
must
finished
admit,
getting a
in its
colour
favour.
laser printer
Though
because I got
£3,000
so
for
annoyed
silence,
that
I'm not sure.
the
I think I'll
printer
have
would
some
bloody
noise for
dry
my
up.
money.
The
Speaking
ink
of
would
noise,
dry
we've
up.
been
You
talking
use it
all
once
day
every
about
blue
going
moon,
talking to the
Yes.
world
and the
of
ink would be
modem.
dry.
Right.
Please
So I
go
sod
and
it.
talk,
I just
John.
bought a laser
See you
printer.
later.
Brian Jacks, the Iron Man.
The World Superstars competition in the Bahamas, 1980,
Superstars?
and Britain's Brian
That used
Jacks
to be
yet
on TV.
again stunned the crowds with his
Do they
all-round
still do it these
athletic
days?
ability.
Is it still a thing?
Real endurance of the whole body. And he makes it, yes, locks it. Big smiles all round for Brian Jacks. Supporters absolutely delighted.
Now Brian runs his own business, giving judo exhibitions throughout the country.
Julie and I have decided to buy a computer, but we've looked in all these different magazines. We've got hundreds of magazines.
Right,
We're just not
okay.
too sure what to buy.
It's the binder on micro.
I found
What are
that
they going to buy?
having looked through one of the magazines that there's at least 60 different types of home computers on the market, and we're just not too sure what to buy. We're really confused. So what we'd like to do is we'd like to go around to the shops and have a good look and see what we want. But basically, I believe that we need something that's going to help Philip.
This should be fun.
Our young lad.
This should be really good
in
fun.
his schooling and so on. And something that's also going to help Julie with her typing and to do the office work for me. Croydon seemed the most obvious place to try, since it's nearby and there's a variety of good stores to wander around. We were surprised at the number of computer shops
Croydon,
which have opened
the
there
obvious
in
place
the
to buy a
last few
computer.
months. But we decided to start with a shop we know well, Smith's in the Whitgift Centre, which now has a large computer department.
Smith's? Do you remember when Smith's used to sell computers and computer games? And records and
It's a
cassettes?
standard tape. It takes about 10 minutes.
You're
That's a
12.
really ugly thing, isn't it? This
It
one,
is.
it's enormous, isn't it?
Yeah, you get sort of hard disk, that sort of size now.
I think my wife would go berserk if she saw the size of that.
So what
We'll talk about the 1541 disk drive. I don't think he's impressed with
the
that.
idea is I'm interested in for letter writing.
Except good things on that one.
Is it not loaded yet?
It is still loading.
Cool.
That's
Yeah.
that's one drawback with the
Takes
Commodore.
ages, doesn't it?
It takes ages.
Brian Jackson's not happy with how long it takes to load on a Commodore.
It's quite an expensive computer.
Do Commodores take longer to load?
These are not electric.
I've never known it.
Yeah.
My friend had a Spectrum and his games took as long as mine did.
There's an Electron as well.
My Commodore 64, just put it in.
That is the BBC equivalent, though, is it? I'm
It
totally
does.
confused, you
It's
see.
built by the same company,
Is it?
and it speaks the same language. So if somebody writes stuff at school,
I don't think they're going to be walking home with a
programs,
Commodore.
They can come
Yeah.
right home on this machine. Okay, bye bye.
Bye-bye.
Malman is on. Oh, he's into the He-Man. I think they're going to go for the BBC.
At the local department store, we were totally sport for choice, but we did manage to see a demonstration on the Atari.
Right, if we press E, we can edit the text. Right? There's some text in there already. It just says this is a demonstration, etc.
Okay.
If we want to change a word there, press Control, cursor key, and type in.
What's this?
He's happy enough.
This is actually a touch tablet for use with an Atari Artist program. Atari Artist is a bit like this word processor, but it's for pictures. To actually change the program, just take this cartridge out here, place this one in.
My word, that was quick.
Yeah, right, and there we are.
Oh, he's impressed.
How much?
Oh,
How much does that
he's a happy
cost?
chappy. That was very
That
quick.
program with this touch tablet is £70.
And the actual machine?
The machine is £250.
So they're all
And as a
extras.
parent,
you buy as an extra.
you're looking at your child, interacting with it, thinking, yeah,
Well,
this
now
is the
my
one for
brain
me.
was hurting more than
I
my
reckon they're going to buy an Atari.
It seemed that each assistant had his own favourite computer.
That's
This
good.
made it difficult to make an objective choice. That's a tiny one, look at that, look. Well, that's the Sinclair Spectrum. I wonder what that thing is at the bottom.
Will you feel those keys, Brian? They're like rubber.
I don't think you'd be able to type
Yeah, you
very
feel
well
them
with that, would you?
keys.
Try it.
They're horrible.
Oh no, I couldn't use that one.
Can you just
No, she's not
tell us
impressed.
a little bit about the Spectrum?
Well, the Spectrum
She's not impressed
has
with
been
how-
out for
how rubber
quite a
feels.
while now, so there is a fair degree of software available for it. Mostly balancing out between educational and game software.
I'll tell you what we'd like to go on to after.
Mostly
we'd like
games.
To have a look at the Oric, if that's
Just
possible.
don't tell us to Clive. He's
Are
not
the
impressed with how many games there is.
graphics good on that particular one?
They are. The Oryx graphics are particularly good, but at the moment they're not being exploited as much as they could do, simply because being a new machine, you haven't got a terrific range of software out.
Do they have a disk unit for this one?
There is a disk drive coming out for the Oryx, but again, that is only on the drawing board at the moment.
You know, I think really we better stick to something that's, you know, more...
So what do we reckon?
more readily
Commodore?
available.
Right.
Atari? Oric? BBC?
Philip!
Come on, Philip. Philip's
lovely.
just watching TV.
Can I borrow the
What
pen?
are the book?
Thank you. So, if you want to
Can't
see
see.
which one we chose, then you'll just have to look in next month.
No!
I'm so... I think I'm still confused, aren't you?
What?
Brian Jackson family, and I'm not surprised at Brian's confusion. So far, we've had lots of people try to get onto us, and the only thing we've got is Eric Schwartz of Harpenden. We managed to get his name, but so far no address.
People
so keep on
struggling with the
trying.
BBS.
Well, I'm often asked what sort of computer I should buy for the home, and it's a very difficult
I
question
wanna know
to
what
answer.
Brian
Often
Jack's
I say to
bought.
somebody, don't buy a computer unless you really have to. Well, Which, the magazine of the Consumers Association, has done a buying guide for computers, and they've come out with 5 computers ranging from a Sinclair Spectrum at about £130 up to a BBC Micro. But you can see how problematical it is when you look at the cover, and there on the cover is a Dragon 32, and shortly after this, Dragon itself ran into problems and got itself acquired. So in the October edition of which we find that they're recommending that it comes out of their list of front runners. When you go into business micros, it becomes even more difficult, and there are several hundred
Take it out of the
items
list.
of equipment to choose from. And Which Computer this month has a wonderful article saying it's the only buying guide you'll ever need. And of course, that isn't an exaggeration. It's interesting inside
I
that
want
when
that.
you look
I
at
want
it,
that.
the article starts
I want
off
that
by
magazine.
saying, survival kit for your computer purchasers.
I'm going to try and find a
some
copy of it on
marvellous
archive or
horror
something.
stories. Here's one. How about this? There's some 2,000 dealers, many of whom are unscrupulous, dishonest, technically ignorant or unstable. In the last 12 months, 600 dealers went out of business.
Did he
They
say
then go on to
unstable?
state about all the problems you can get into installing a business computer, losing control of your stock,
What, mentally
losing contact
unstable?
with your customers and so on, and finally going bankrupt as a result of the combination of all these. Well, if you've met a dishonest
Well,
dealer,
that
you've met an
happens.
unscrupulous one,
When you
or
get a
an
saturated
ignorant one,
market.
or you've been driven out of business by a computer, please let us know. We had a rather interesting comment in one paper today. It said a firm of London solicitors won £16,000 in damages after being sold a computer they didn't need. The judge involved in the case pointed out the firm would have been better off to stick to their manual methods. As somebody's pointed out, it's rather like finding you guilty of manslaughter if you sell a
Like the
motorbike
equivalent
to a
of the
teenager who
PPI
hasn't got a
claim.
licence, and the first thing he does is take off and drive into a tree. Well, I've been joined by Stephen Castell, who's an information technology consultant. Welcome, Stephen.
Good
He's
evening,
also the
Matt.
author of a book
Stephen
called
Castell, they got another expert on. Let's see what he has to say.
Well, Mac, I've been looking at so-called smart cards and laser cards, memory cards. This one is the Drexon laser card, made from a substance called Drexon, made by the Drexler Corporation in the States. Data can be stored in it by a photographic process rather than electronic process, so it can be read by a low-powered laser. And some of us are predicting that
This
this
has
kind
got
of
all
card
the
will
whiff
be
of
the
something
computer
that
product,
never really turned
personal
into anything.
computer memory device of the future. This little beauty stores about 2 megabytes, that's about 800 A4 pages of text. Obvious applications, software distribution,
2
electronic
megabytes.
publishing, that's manuals and textbooks, and of course,
But
perhaps,
again, that's
complete medical history of a
a
person
handy
who puts on
amount.
one and you can keep it with
When you look at what a
Compared
computer had
with
back
that,
in the day,
sort
you
of
know, to carry
standard,
around
credit
2K
card,
of,
which is the same
you
size,
know,
just
in your back
stores
pocket.
about 45 words or so on its little magnetic stripe. Another type of smart card is the one which
Just
has...
going back to that Drexel
Yes,
card,
yeah.
I understand that BPC, Bob Maxwell's organisation, has taken out the licence in the UK. What do you think he's going to use it for?
Well, we'd probably have to wait and see, but it's interesting that it's the only UK company that's actually licensed the technology, and it's a publishing company, so he's obviously got his very much the future of this new medium. We'll look forward with interest to see what he does with it.
One of the things I
dead
read
in the
about it
water.
said he could store your picture on it, and I thought, well, you know, it's not much use if you haven't got the equipment to read it back. And it seemed to me there'd been
Only
innovation of
jesting.
actually
I
storing
don't
a
know if
picture
it's dead
in
in
the
the
shape of
water.
photographs, so everybody could read it. Is it really an
I'm going to
improvement
get
on
loads
that?
of people
I don't
sending
know,
me
I think
comments.
it's a bit of a sort of solution looking
Did
for a
you
problem
know
at
when
the
you
moment,
said it
but
in
it
the
does
water?
open
It's
up
not
the
said in the
whole
water. It's
question
not
of
using
image
blah, blah,
processing
blah.
and image storage.
Yes, I'm
and I
just
think there's
joking.
some fascinating developments there in the future. Another type of smart card is this, of which this is an example. It has only 4K of memory in it. By comparison with the other one, it's rather tame. But of course, it does have intelligence with it. And one of the interesting products which this fits in with is a telephone
got
product.
AI.
It's called a Memotel. One can slip it in here. It's a repertory dialer, normally stores about 150 numbers selected by a single button stroke or perhaps a couple. With this one, you can stuff it in and get about 600 more numbers. Now, take it from your London Memotel across to your New York Memotel, and hey presto,
Yeah, you can
find
definitely
just
see
exactly
what
the same
sort of
keystrokes
people this is
or
aimed
select
at.
the same telephone numbers. The
Yeah,
intelligence
take
in
it
the
with you
card,
when you go
interfacing
from
with
your
the
London
unit
office
in New York, knows that
to
it's in
your
New
New
York,
York
to write the
office.
prefix codes on, so you don't have to worry about it. And that's
Provided
quite a
you got one of
smart...
those
Brian
in New
Jack's
York.
on the
Well,
buying
this is
one.
the problem, of course. One needs the readers and the applications to use it properly.
What else is happening?
What else is happening? Well, it's been an interesting 2 months for developments generally, very weighty developments in information technology. We've had things like the British Telecommunications Act becoming law, BT PLC being formed, Oftel, the Office of Telecommunications, and BT going public next month to make even more money, presumably, out of their new prices. We've had the Data Protection Act becoming law, and we've had things like a report from NEDO about the
The
information
Data Protection
technology
Act,
crisis.
DPA.
Of course, we've got
Oh,
a new
my
Minister
job
of
was
Technology,
enshrined
Kenneth
around
Baker's moved on to
DPA, and I
Astrid
used to work
Greener.
at T-Mobile.
That's right. Are they green? I don't know.
I don't know.
Only he can tell,
Yes.
actually.
What do you think of that?
Well, in two minds about
There was
it.
a
This
time
government, you know, when it
before
first came in,
DPA
seemed to
ever
start off
existed.
so many good initiatives in information technology. Many of us applauded them. I mean,
Seems
the whole
bonkers.
BBC and schools micro program is one of them. I just got a sneaking suspicion at the moment that we're seeing something which may be summarised as sort of yesterday's men trying to apply today's solutions to tomorrow's problems, and I fear that some of these initiatives are going to go fat on us. Sorry about that.
That hurts. Well,
Yep.
thank you, Stephen.
I think you've got one in your hand there.
Today's computer technology was the Personal Computer World Show held last week at Olympia in London. It modestly claims to be the greatest micro show on Earth, so how could we miss it? Yeah, well, it may have had the highest technology on the planet, but as we plugged in our lives...
I don't know if it was Olympia or Earl's Court, but I used to go to the ECTS.
Here's Lesley.
I don't know whether the
European
PCW
Computer
show
Trade
is
Show,
really the
and that was
greatest
great
micro
fun
show
back
on
in
Earth,
the
but it was certainly packed
late
the day
80s. I
was
think we were like
there.
88 and
Showing me
89.
some of the things which particularly interested him
Oh, that was
was
brilliant.
journalist Chris Palmer. Okay, Chris, you've dragged me to the apricot stand. Why?
You used to see so much stuff there.
Oh, that's a good
You used to
enough
have
reason.
so much stuff just thrown at you. You used to come out with CDs and
a mains point to
all sorts of
and it's worth actually
gadgets and
saying
gizmos.
that the monitor over here is an addition which you can make to the system.
Ah.
The portable part is
Anyway, we
this
digress.
BBC
So you've got a liquid crystal display which would show everything a standard monitor
Yeah, I mean,
shows.
you can use it as that. You don't need the monitor.
So it's this and this. And am I right in thinking there's no other wires apart from that main sleeve?
Certainly. The keyboard itself communicates with the main part of the computer via infrared in the same way that your TV or video controller would.
Well, that makes
I
it very
associate
easy.
this programme with Lesley Judd so much, or Lesley Judd with this programme so much. She was on it all the
This one has
time.
actually been primarily designed
And
to use
she did a few other
handheld,
things,
and it's
but
also
she doesn't really come on television anymore. In fact, on Blue Peter she was on, wasn't she? I think she was on Blue Peter, which is a the kids programme in the UK. But I think now she's sort of retired from TV. I think she lives in France now doing
the same sort of display you'd get in a washer.
organising events or
Only
something.
much bigger. So it means
Something a lot more
you have a
low-key.
usable area to work on the screen.
Ah, now this is more my level.
Yes.
I like it. Colours and shapes, but great for kids.
Yeah, absolutely ideal for kids. What it actually is a touch-sensitive pad which interfaces into the major micros.
Touchmaster.
So,
Never seen
as you say,
one.
great
Never
for
heard of
kids
it until then.
because from an early age they're not really that happy with a keyboard, and so you've got something here which you've got colours and shapes on, which a kid can relate to and actually use and interact with the computer. At the moment it's compatible with 5 of the leading micros.
Company
And
was
this is
so
Apple's
interested in trying to get
latest
kids on
addition to their
board.
range, the
Different
Macintosh.
interfaces
And what I
and
wanted
things.
to show you is a rather wonderful piece of software that's running on it, which is a visual database.
What do you mean by that? Is there's pictures of houses instead of words?
Yes, I mean, what they've done is, obviously your visual senses are a lot stronger than looking at words or numbers. So if we want the information on that particular house there, we point to it and press the button and it marks that house, and we ask it to link.
Yeah.
So it's now going to link through to some more detailed information on that house. Say you're interested particularly
The
in the size of the
Macintosh
living room.
is
So once
it's
again,
just such an
point to the
iconic
living
computer
room,
now.
and it would highlight
Oh, yeah,
it there on the screen, and
look
you
at that
now
mouse.
ask for
I mean,
info
you
on
see
the
all
living room.
these different computers
And now it
come and
actually
go,
comes up
but
and it
the
says, right,
Apple Mac
the living room is
was
what you're
just
looking at.
so
It's 200
identifiable.
square feet. It's got 2 closets
It's
and 6
just
windows.
beautiful to look at. I can hear
Are
a
you
chip
telling me
tune.
that this is an ordinary personal computer?
It's an ordinary home computer, and it's got this rather wonderful keyboard which sits on top of it.
Oh, I had one of those
Keyboard.
when I got my
The way it actually
computer
works is when you press the
compendium
key
pack.
here,
Came one of those.
Actually pressing the key on the keyboard underneath it.
Music
But for
maker.
someone like me, who I can't read music or play music, how much fun would I get out of this?
No, I'm the same, Leslie. I can't read music or play music, but I have fun with
Remember the
that.
notes you played, so you've got an inbuilt sequencer.
I had so much
to
fun
remember what
messing
you
about with
played.
it. I know it's
and since
anyone
we've
who
got
knows
the notes
anything
here
about
written down, so if I read
writing
them out
music
to you,
and chip tunes and
you
stuff
ready?
will say they're a horrible
G.
piece of kit.
This is where have all the flowers gone, incidentally.
I don't, well, it worked, you know, it didn't really work very well.
F, E,
But,
C.
I wish I started
That
mine.
didn't sound like where have all the flowers gone to me.
No, but one of the other nice features about it is you can actually play it back in the time by just tapping one key. So if we now ask it to remember the time, I'll tend to actually play it back as it should be. And if you hit it again, it'll actually play back, remembering the time you put into it.
£25,000. Let's put the lid on it, Chris, quickly.
A lot of money.
I don't think I've ever seen so much money in my life. Right, where's the... Oh, no, don't say I've lost the key. Oh, you got the key. Great. Right, now, £25,000, that is some prize, isn't it? I know, I mean, the oil companies do it, the newspapers do it, but is this the first time that a computer firm's done it?
This amount of money for a computer firm, that is actually the prize for the first person to solve the adventure called Eureka. Now, Eureka is a multi-part adventure game. There are 5 actual adventures and 5 arcade games.
Who won that then?
Complete each one in sequence before you can actually get to the end and claim the money.
Right, so you don't just win like that.
No, it's a long slog.
Right, so where do I get a game?
Well, unfortunately, you're going to have to wait till the 31st of October, which is when they actually become generally available.
You can read
I'll read it. We've got a hilarious message here from the States. And what's it saying? Be sure to let all your viewers know that we in the colonies are very big on things British. I mean, a person can't buy something in a supermarket without seeing the latest news on Lady Di or rollicking Randy Prince Andy. We're also real fond of Maggie Thatcher and Boy George. Personally, though, I think George is the best dressed of the two. I think Maggie Thatcher would look pretty silly with all that hair.
I don't think... Well, OK.
Now, listen,
maybe
that's a
BBS is
lovely
off for that
from
reason.
America?
Okay.
Yes, that one I think is from America.
And but it's not the same thing as electronic mail, is it?
No, we are not on electronic mail and we're not on chat. We're on a system called Party.
And what does that mean? Party, whoopee,
no,
lots of people
it's
joining
not quite
in?
in that sense, although it's a sense of a lot of people joining
Come on,
together.
Lesley.
It's participation
Don't
in
do
a
it down
conference.
too much.
I see.
And so this is a conference which is set up worldwide. We've got a real problem at the moment because of time scales. It's 1 o'clock in New York. They're asleep in Australia, so we've had to wake somebody up and tell them to come online. But we've got a conference running right around the world with messages whizzing all over the place.
Well, with all this party talking, poor old Mac can't get a word in edgeways. I think he's got something useful to say, actually. Mac?
Oh, well, thank you, Lesley. Well, we all know what happens. These computers really aren't as easy to use as they say. When you switch them on, you get something like this.
And that noise every time you turn the BBC on, you get
they give
a
it
two-tone
a greater
noise.
than sign with a flashing cursor like this. And if you want to do something, you probably have to type in something like *cat, which is a catalogue or directory, and it will give you a list of the programs you've got stored here on your disk.
This is
and
what I
then to load a program, you probably have to type
with
chain
in school,
and
the
don't
BBCs.
forget to put it in quotation
They had
marks, and we'll put out live 1.
Later, like for electrical, they had an Archimedes and a couple of PCs, but it was all about the BBC.
And off she runs. You've got to know the sequence of things to do. It's specialised for
Such
each
an iconic
computer you're running
machine.
on. With
I'm going to
a
have to get
professional
myself one.
computer,
I've never owned
something
one,
like
but
this,
I'm
when
going
you
to have
switch
to
it
get
on,
one.
You'll get a screen
Just so
with
that
the
I've
various
started on.
alternatives at that particular point well outlined. In this particular machine, it's in a rather nice graphic form, and you can move the cursor along and select another one and get another a series of options of things you can do at that point. It's called a menu. In this case, they're all graphics. You can do a similar sort of thing on your micro. And the great advantage of it is that you can go up to it, see what options are available, and anybody else can do the same. And we can do the same sort of thing on this machine here. And what I have to do that, the problem really comes in 2 parts. Firstly, to have a program that will do the menuing itself. And secondly, you need a little program so that when you switch your machine on, you automatically go into the menu. Well, we've written a little program here, and we'll have a look at that and see what it looks like. Well, this menu gives you an option of 3 programs that we have on disk. And of course, you're not limited to the names that you have on the disk. You can call them whatever you like. And we've got a list of 3 here. You just type in a 2, and it will come. And
I'm just looking at that font,
the
and it's
code
just
is
like...
really quite short. And I
It
can
just
show you
takes me
that.
back so much. Doing,
There it is. That's the total code for
schoolwork on the
producing this menu
BBC.
program. And it's a very, very nice, simple
The
little
colours.
system. But that's only half the battle. What we need to do is to get it so I can run that as soon as I switch the computer on. And this is called booting the system. I think it comes either from bootstrapping the system when you switch it on, or probably dim and distant past when there were valve computers and you switched it all on and the old electrons didn't flow, and you lifted up your foot and give it a real boot and it sprang into life and you got some code going. So we have on this particular machine to type *build, boot,
I like it.
and then the first thing we want the machine to do.
Cortex Sport.
when
Have
we
you
switch
booted it?
on. In this
No.
case, we want to chain menu.
I need
just
to
as we
boot it
did
first.
before. So we can escape from that, and I'll switch it off, switch the machine on again, and then I'll do a shift break, and automatically I'm straight into the menu. And I hit a 2, and hopefully Steve's graphic will come up. It's a lot easier, it's very straightforward, it's very simple. And if you're interested in doing this yourself, we'll give you details on how to get more information at the end of the programme. Well, next month, the government is expected to announce the date for the sale of British Telecom shares. And on MicroLive, we'll be discussing the possible effects of both privatisation and liberalisation on the phone service and how it's going to affect you. Freff will be reporting from America on the breakup of American Telephone and Telegraph, the company that at one time had a virtual monopoly of the phone service in the US. And we'll be doing parallels between there and here. While he was filming in the opening to that story on Madison Avenue in New York, unknown to him, I was also in town. Up till then, we'd not met, just seen each other on television.
Oh, you're going to surprise the lad. Okay, we'll play along.
It used to be simple in America. God was in his heaven and all was right with the world. IBM made computers. AT&T, American Telephone and Telegraph, made telephones. And smaller companies supplied things the big guys didn't care about. Like
Hello, Freff. What are you doing talking to yourself on the street? Hello, how are you doing?
It's a pleasure to meet you, Mac.
Good to see you after all this time.
You know something?
I've only seen
You're
an
a lot
electronic
realer.
replica.
You're a lot realer in real life than you are in television.
You're a lot realer in real life.
And height and breadth and everything.
Of course I am.
You're wearing a tie today.
Yeah, it's good, isn't it?
They're
That's
filming
Marky.
this,
I
aren't
thought
they?
for New
Those
York.
sons of bitches
I
are filming
jest.
this. You sick, twisted, deviant producer, you.
Yeah, I really think you wanted to say something more than
Day
that.
to see you.
Oh,
and
well.
they said you're talking here in the middle of Madison Avenue, and I should come over and say, how are you doing,
You wanna
Freff? And
trade-
how did you get such a daft name anyway?
Well, actually, it was a nickname when I was a kid. I was madly in love with this girl in high school, see? She was gorgeous, but she thought I was cute, which is not what I wanted. Anyway, we started doing these guerrilla theater routines, and she gave everybody names. It's all very complicated. She gave me the name Freff, and I discovered it was a good name for artwork.
And I understand in the telephone book it's I am Freff.
No, it's just Freff. Although, boy, the places it does, the things it does to computers around here, I am R. Freff to the telephone company because they took the M off Mr. I am Mr. Freff with no space to the electric company, and I am Mr. spelled out Freff to MasterCard. It's very strange.
So what are you going to do for the program? What interests you?
All kinds of things. I've been working with computers for years, okay, but in a small way, and I've changed my life with them. I'm fascinated in seeing the way they're changing other people's lives, because when I bought mine, people thought I was some kind of alien. They said, computer, that's very strange, isn't it? In fact, I had to drive 40 miles out of the city to buy one because there were no stores in Manhattan then.
Everyone's walking past, having a good old look.
Close. Very, very close.
You're
to
getting
that,
them away,
yes.
man.
Are people using them in the home in Manhattan?
Yes. More and more. You get a lot more things with microprocessors in them, of course. Microwave ovens, refrigerators, everything's got something. I mean, they'll have ballpoint pens with microprocessors sooner or later to help tell you when you've misspelled words.
Are you using some of the bulletin boards we talked about on that live show we did? Do you use them
As a
yourself?
matter of fact, one of the things I do here in New York is I'm co-chairman of an organization called the Centauri Users Group, which is Centauri is an Apple-based musical instrument, a computer digital synthesizer. And just last night, we organized our own bulletin board just for the 50, 60 members in the New York area to call into New Jersey.
Yeah, bulletin boards, they became such a big thing. I mean, out of all the things you've seen on this episode today, I mean, bulletin boards
Since we only
were
opened
just
it up
huge
today,
at the
I'll
time.
find out when I get home.
What sort of advice do you give to young kids when they're buying their first micro?
Well, save money. Things are changing so fast, and the power of computing is coming down in price and increasing in quality so
I mean, who
rapidly
would have known
that what they
from
should do is look at what they like to
1984
do, buy something that will do that.
where we'd
no
be
more, no
today
bells and whistles,
with,
just
you know,
exactly
everyone's
what they need,
got
because in
a
a year they'll have a
computer.
better scope
Most
of what they
houses have
really
more than
need
one.
and be able to spend
They have
their money
computers that
wisely.
sit on your lap, computers that go under your desk.
$36. It must be just about down to the price of a
Your
paperback
essential
book.
eating's got a
So probably,
CPU in it that controls the
I'd say in
essential
6 months
eating.
you'll probably be able to buy one for the cost of shipping it from
You have something on your desk that you can talk to and say, okay,
Absolutely. I want
it'll
to know something. Can we
answer
change
questions
jackets
for you.
here? I was
I
wondering-
can't say it because I've got one in my pocket.
Yeah, okay. Do you know, in the last
Yeah,
5
Lesley, that's how you
minutes,
spell
this thing's
Lesley.
been so busy, about 40 messages have come in. So that means that although contributors have been alerted that they could leave messages earlier,
Right.
they're all doing it now, aren't they?
Yes, coming in from all over the place. We've got some from Australia,
Yeah.
some from Japan, some from the States,
Yeah.
and obviously me over here.
Yeah. How much do you know about all these people?
Well, when we set this up on Tuesday, I knew absolutely nothing. And to find out about the people, you can say PJ, which means Profile the Joiners.
Yeah.
And that gives you a list of everybody who's on the conference, who's decided to join.
Oh, yeah.
And Harry, myself, Dr. Tom, whoever that is, Norm C,
Tom.
that's Norman Choi, Cherwin, Shari, Maud Dibb, who's
Yeah.
Joey in Tokyo.
Well, Stuart, that was the American guy we had the first message off, wasn't
That's
it?
right, that was Stuart. So there are a list of
CSR
names, and after that
005.
you can actually go in and you get a
Proper
profile
usernames.
on a particular person, so you can begin to find out more
Yeah.
about them.
We were talking about time difference. Presumably you do have to take that
Horned
time difference
lizard.
into account.
Very
because,
much,
I mean, for
yeah.
instance, American business hours have been, what, they're at the moment, aren't they?
That's right. That's why I thought we'd have quite a lot of difficulty with this demonstration, because, you know, they're actually working.
Yeah.
Yeah.
So it would be irresponsible, really, to go diving in on their work
Exactly.
programmes,
Don't
rather.
interrupt. Go on.
I was just going to ask you then, how much does it cost to
Right.
contact, to do all this?
OK. We spent about £3 on the
Could you do the
satellite
next bit
time.
next month?
I will
I
certainly.
think we've got to stop now because we've
Okay.
been so busy talking around the world. We're going to leave poor Mac with no
Yep,
time to talk
the
with people
joys
around
of
the
live
corner.
TV.
Well, one advantage about doing a live programme is you can correct mistakes as you go along. Orica phoned up to say that the Lasky salesman didn't quite get it right. There is a disc drive available, and it costs £269. And
There you go.
We do have some messages.
Oric's
that have
got on
come
the
through.
case.
Good evening to all at Micro Live. Suggest you emphasise this is a 300 baud system, which is important. Hello, Mum and Dad, and hello to Michelle. Good luck to all at the Beeb. I think that means everybody. Greetings from Basildon iTech Computer Club. This programme is a great idea. Let's see more of it. Oh, I like the idea of that. Hello, Mac. Great programme. That's good. I like that. Hello, Micro Alive. What a load of old rubbish. This is my last one. He put a more of Lesley Judd. I shall turn off my set. Is that clear? I like that. There's another one from Daisy.
Licence payers.
I'd like you and Leslie to come for dinner with me.
You're making them up. Come on,
telling
Leslie.
I'm telling them as it is.
Can I have my messages?
Yes, you can. There's another one. I'd like you all to come to dinner with me and my boyfriend, Hugh Manfactors. You like that?
That's a pretty good name, isn't it?
Hugh
It's an
Manfactors,
absolutely brilliant name, yeah.
Yeah, they live at Disc Drive.
Disc Drive.
And they live at Disc Drive.
It is.
What- I bet it's a very, very long number as well, Mac.
It is. The brother's called Icon. And they're going to an Indian takeaway prepared by Mr. Ram Chip.
Like I say,
And the
BBC
guest
dodgy
personality is
humour.
Dot Matrix.
Dot Matrix, that's actually
Okay,
beautiful.
okay.
Well, from next week, the Micro Live bulletin board will be open all the time. But there will be a new phone number. It's 01 579 2288.
So why are you telling us now?
579 2288.
If it's
Now,
next
you want
week.
more details about anything on the show, there are a number of ways to obtain it. You can, of course, get information from the bulletin board itself, or you can write into an address which will give at the end of the programme for some programme.
Who writes anymore?
And if you're on Telecom Gold, then you can find all that information by typing info BBC One, and you can also send messages to us on BBC 100, and you can find us on Castell, page 80,000.
Castell.
What the heck happens on all the
Oh,
other
dear.
79,999?
That's taking me back.
Don't know, Mac, I only got to page 3.
Page 3. Well done. Do something during the week. Well, there's information
Well, I think
including
we're coming to an
programme
end.
listings on CFAX page
This
700
first
onwards,
episode.
and some
40,
of the programmes we've
45,
already shown
47 minutes
are
long.
available on telesoftware. And
I hope
after
you're
all
still
that,
there
if
watching
you
with
haven't
me.
got a
I'm
micro,
not on my
don't
own.
forget you can
'Cause I
win
wanna
a
see
BBC
who's,
computer
what Brian
and
Jackson
50 pounds
bought.
of software every week by entering a competition in the Listener magazine. And since few people who read the Listener seem to understand computers, your chance of winning is rumoured to be very high. That's all for this month. The next programme is live on Friday, November the 9th. See you
Friday,
then.
November the 9th, 1984. Well, thank you very much. I really enjoyed that. Was there things in there that surprised you? Yeah. So what we'll do, we'll do this again, and we will see what Brian Jacks bought. What's your money on? And are you still using a BBS? I'm not, but I know some people were using it until fairly recently. Anyway, thank you very much. I hope you have a good time, and thank you for watching. Bye bye.